Look, in what I do, there are sometimes pressures. What the hell do you think that I do? Come on, come on. Come on! Every morning I walk in for 5 months, say hi. What the hell do you think that I do?
You sell little fucking cars, that's what you do.
I wear $150 slacks. I wear silk shirts. I wear $800 suits. I wear a gold watch. I wear a perfect D, flawless, 3-carat ring. I change cars like other guys change their fucking shoes. I'm a thief. I've been in prison, all right?
So what? I don't care.
So what?
Don't tell me.
So what? I never even told my wife that.
I don't
Who is
care.
now gone. Did I ever come on to you?
No.
Well, you see?
See what?
See, I am a straight arrow. I am a true blue kind of a guy. I've been cool. I am now unmarried. So let's cut the mini moves and the bullshit and get on with this big romance.
What? I don't believe it. Do you think that I have been waiting for you to come along? What is this shit?
You think I'm kidding, I can tell. This is strictly on the up and up.
It's Two Dads, One Movie. It's the podcast where two middle-aged dads sit around and shoot the shit about the movies of the 80s and 90s. Here are your hosts, Steve Paulo and Nick Brianna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we are discussing the 1981 crime noir, sort of drama, thriller-ish Thief, starring
Yes.
James Caan. And Nick, this is one you picked for us, and this is our second stop in our Two Dads, Two Decades March, which is why we're in 1981.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Thief and why you chose it for us.
Yeah, I thought I'd take kind of a, I don't know, like swerve a little bit for this one. Because I was looking at, the big movies of 1981. And I think, the biggest obvious one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Sure.
But we had done an Indiana Jones film already. And then I started thinking about like which directors, which actors were relevant maybe during this time period. Who haven't we seen?
Yeah.
And this is Michael Mann's first film. And Michael Mann became very relevant, especially with television in the 80s.
Okay. Yeah.
With Miami Vice and everything, but then gave us some great films later on.
Yeah.
So I thought, hey, maybe this would be a neat direction to take. I like the mood of this movie. I had never seen it before, but I'd heard good things about it. So I'm trying to like expand, my knowledge of that era, especially because when it comes to 80s movies, for the most part, the ones that I like and watch a lot started in maybe 85, 86, right? So early 80s is a little unfamiliar to me. So I thought, hey, maybe this is a good one to take a look at.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had actually not only never seen Thief before you brought it to the table, I'd never heard of it. When I saw it on the schedule, I went, what is Thief from 1981? I got to look into this.
Yeah.
So yeah, James Caan, Jim Belushi, Willie Nelson, Michael Mann's debut. That's so cool. And I agree with you about the like kind of early 80s things. I think one of the reasons I wanted to do this Two Dads, Two Decades setup was before last week when we did Airplane, we had not had any movies before 1982 in our on the podcast at all.
Yeah.
I think we'd only had one from 82, none from 83. It was like, or maybe vice versa, but it was like Trading Places. It was like one of the few from that early. And you're right. I think for me, like 84 with like Ghostbusters and Beverly Hills Cop, and that kind of sets a stage for the 80s movies that I love.
Yeah, totally. So, and then there's a certain like aesthetic of a lot of the 80s movies, like the way that they all kind of evolved.
Yeah.
Things that you'd expect to see in a film started maybe around that like 84 time, right?
Yeah.
Where we get our like back Ghostbusters and then, Back to the Future the next year and stuff like that. So this still has kind of a 70s movie feel of it. If you're looking at these older, like, French Connection and like these grittier type of movies.
Well, grittier, but even just the style, which it has, the style feels very 70s to me, the way people are dressed, the cars they're driving, like all this stuff. It's when I think about like a movie like Caddyshack, which is from 1980, but it feels like a 1970s movie.
Yeah.
100%. Like the way people are dressed and the way people are acting, it feels very, very late 70s. But really, what's the difference, right? Like we're 78, 79, 80, 81, like whatever. But anyway, here we are talking about Thief. Both of us came into this fresh. So, I guess there's really nothing for us to do but like jump into the facts and start a conversation.
Yeah,
on
let's
Thief.
find out some facts about this one.
So the movie Thief was released on March 27th, 1981 with an R rating, a running time of 123 minutes. It is the directorial, at least feature directorial debut of Michael Mann. He also wrote the screenplay from a novel by Frank Hoemer. The movie stars James Caan, Tuesday Weld, and Jim Belushi. Credited as James Belushi, as he was often at that point.
That's when he was classier.
That's when he was James.
The thespian, yeah.
Exactly. Rotten Tomatoes, 80% fresh, so very high fresh score from Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb, a 7.4, which is, the good to extra good kind of ballpark. As you approach 7.5, that's when you start getting into like...
It's like a BB plus from IMDb or something like that.
Absolutely. And we get a pair of thumbs up from the homies, Siskel and Ebert.
What I did read, though, is that people don't really give as much weight to this double thumbs up because they accuse Siskel and Ebert of being Chicago homers. Because this is such a Chicago film, they might have a little bias towards it. A couple years later, they voted Super Bowl Shuffle Album of the Year. So I don't know if we can trust them that much. But yeah, they were saying that, all right, Gene and Bob.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Their Chicago-ness should have been so to its core offended by James Caan's terrible accent that it seems like maybe that would have gone against the film, and maybe they really loved it in order to give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah,
because that accent is such dog shit.
Wait, he sounds just like he's from one of the 5 boroughs of Chicago.
He sounds like one of James Caan's super fans is what he sounds like. It's real bad. Anyway, on that topic, by the way, on the awards tip, there were no, that I could find, references to positive awards, nominations or otherwise, for this movie.
Yeah.
At the 1981 The Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, I think it was on at the same time as the Razzies, but apparently we used to have 2 of these.
Yeah.
And I think we saw The Stinkers at Spaceballs. It got a nomination for something which I thought was asinine.
They should call it the Haters. I don't like
the Haters
this.
Award. Yeah. So winner, most annoying fake accent female for Tuesday Weld, and most intrusive musical score for composer Tangerine Dream. Also nominated but did not win the Razzie for worst musical score. The film was also nominated but did not win the Stinkers Awards for worst actor for James Caan, worst actress for Tuesday Weld, worst on-screen couple for James Caan and Tuesday Weld, and most annoying fake accent male for Mr. Caan. So
damn,
lots of hate for this movie from the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards.
It's like organized by some valet that James Caan punched in 1975 or something.
To be fair, the accent is horrific. So we'll get into that a little more. But anyway, on a $5.5 million budget, which, feels pretty run of the mill for that era, like not particularly high or particularly low for early 80s.
Yep.
It returned $11.5 million for 2.1 times what it cost, which is a success. Like whether or not it wasn't a hit, but it did what it was supposed to do, earned its money back, and certainly wasn't a flop in any way. And this is, James Caan at this point in his career is, taking lead roles and being the leading man, but he was also a producer on this movie. So this was something where, he was very much involved behind the scenes as well as on camera, and was able to, make sure that this movie got made, I think, to some extent.
Yeah.
Whether he was a fan of the novel was called The Home Invaders or The House Invaders by Frank Hoemer, whether he was like a fan of that work and wanted to do a movie of it or just liked Mann's screenplay and ideas, not sure, but Caan is listed, I think, as an executive producer on the film.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very James Caan character. And quick thought on his accent.
Okay.
All right, if I'm going to counterpoint this to play devil's advocate here. His accent, like when he gets into his backstory a little bit, he was basically, raised in the foster care system, pretty much immediately was incarcerated, into like his mid 30s or early 30s or whatever. So he spent his entire life just kind of in these tough situations. And what he emerged with is the generic tough guy accent. So he just sounds like your standard tough guy from, unknown origins, because we don't know where his like foster system and stuff was.
But I think the origins are fairly well known. It's the Chicagoland area, because that's what, like, that really is what at least caricatures of Chicagoans sound like. Whether or not that, because I've never been to Chicago, I know no one, who grew up in Chicago and carries that accent with them. So I don't know for sure how wrong it is. I just know it sounds cartoonish to my ears.
Yeah.
And I guess that sounds like Bill Swerski on Saturday Night Live. Yeah. So, all right. Those are the facts on Thief. So, right. Why don't we kick it off, man? How does the movie start?
Yeah. So this movie, I feel like is, it's kind of like a vibe movie.
Okay.
It's like to me, it becomes, if you let yourself kind of become a little immersed in it, like the look is very cool. The sounds are very cool, but you have to kind of settle into it, because there's not a lot of like, snappy dialogue, or there's not a lot of like attention grabbing stuff that happens necessarily, especially the first half of the movie.
Right.
But we start off with some really cool looking like Chicago night shots, you know, and we got some great synth music, the Tangerine Dream
great
thing. I love this shit.
God,
so
wow.
I think this is something I would say at the beginning. if you like the music, you're going to enjoy this movie. If you don't like the music, because it's such a, that's what I dug, is the kind of combination of the look and the music. But and I saw that Jerry Bruckheimer was
was one of the producer on this. Yeah, that's
right. So we basically start with Jimmy Caan, Frank, and him and Jim Belushi are kind of like a tag team. They have a getaway driver guy too,
Wheelman,
and they're working on this like very detailed kind of safe operation. And he's got really cool equipment. I think they do a good job of showing like the close up of the actual mechanics of breaking into the safe and everything.
Yeah.
So he's got this huge drill. They've got a million wires that they have to like disable or reroute or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, to me, once the drill goes into the wall of the safe, that to me is like the dick going in. That's like, this movie has started. This movie has begun here.
All right.
So I like this scene. I like this beginning. And he ends up getting into this big safe and it's full of jewelry that he's just whipping around the room, like the FBI turning over somebody's house looking for drugs. And he ends up just stealing a bunch of diamonds that are in these little envelopes. That's what he's after. And I think this movie has made me a better safe cracker.
I see. Yeah, I was wondering as I was watching this opening sequence. First of all, I like Jim Belushi's character in this. Barry, I think is his name. And he's sort of like the alarm guy. So that's what we see him doing outside, is like messing with the junction box for the phone company to like reroute all the alarms so that nothing trips, basically. He's kind of cool in that, doing that stuff. I don't know that much about safe cracking. I looked up a little bit about what is shown in this movie after the fact, because to me this looked like this doesn't take skill. He's just got the right equipment. He puts a drill up against it, he drills into it. Like, what the heck? So, it turns out it's all about knowing exactly where that has to go.
Right.
The schematics of the safe. Like, so it's a lot of the pre-work. Like, once he does get to that point and he's in the room, it is kind of just
like brute force.
Drill it. Like, okay, fair enough. But to get to that point, I think is where his skill set really like kind of comes in, is like his experience and everything else. Because at first I'm like, how's this even a skilled thing? He's just burrowing into this and he's going to take it. Like, I don't know. But it turns out there's a lot more to it. I'll accept that. And then I do love the classic, and this is not the only movie that does this, but like, why the hell do people leave loose cut diamonds, not even in envelopes, dude? They're just wrapped up in paper, little pieces of like printer paper.
Terrible, terrible diamond storage. And I wrote this down too. This was driving me crazy. But yeah, I mean, you go through all this trouble to make sure it's stored in this impenetrable fortress, and then once it's inside, it's just
it's a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's easy to lose those guys.
Little like, Scotch tape on it.
Get a little Manila envelope. Get something, something, right?
It's pretty wild. Like
a little Crown Royal bag.
It must be a thing where you need them separated into groups that have few enough diamonds in them that you would need too many envelopes. So you just do this with paper, I guess. Like, I'm not 100% sure. I want to comment on a couple things you said already, which is like, I 100% agree that the vibe and visuals of this movie are cool as hell. Like, this movie's cool. There's kind of no way around that. It is a cool movie visually. I am on the board. I'm on board with the stinkers and the Razzies. This score took me out of the movie every time it showed up. It is too harsh. It is too abrasive. To me, it does not fit the feel. Imagine this movie with like a little like Coltrane or Miles Davis like jazz instead of this psychotic, EDM, whatever, electronic. I played some of it for my wife while I was watching it because she wasn't watching it with me. She had no interest. I totally understand. But like, I was like, hey, listen to this, and this, whatever. And we both agreed it sounds like Vangelis' score for Blade Runner if Vangelis didn't have any talent. It's kind of what it feels like. So not a fan of Tangerine Dream or the score personally.
Oh, man.
But that's okay. What I am a fan of are these characters. They're obviously very pro operation. They're like separating the concerns. The wheelman takes one piece and takes like the equipment and leaves, and then they go and they got this other car. They drive to a place where they park it in a garage and split up into two other cars and drive up. I mean, it's very cool. You get all of that. Like, this is clearly a very pro operation. These are not amateurs. These are not guys just smash and grab. This is like, this is like the Ocean's 11 heist guys, right? It's that level of pros, which is very cool. Very cool to watch.
Definitely. This score actually, it reminded me a lot of the music that's kind of at the very beginning of The Warriors, Walter Hill's The Warriors, which is kind of also like a dark inner city, like kind of crumbling gritty city type look. And I like it in that. So this reminds me of that a little bit. So this show at twodads1movie.com. Let us know what you think of the score. Cause it is polarizing for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
One thing this is kind of missing, we're talking about like the legwork is the biggest part of the job that he actually has to do because, later on he has to do a heist where he's given like 4 to 8 weeks lead time, so it's not like 24 hours. So I do like the realistic kind of timelines in this. There's not a scene to my knowledge of him walking in with like a big blueprint of a safe and swiping all the shit off a table and rolling the blueprint out.
Missed opportunity.
I feel like we could have had that. So Frank, we've got his, they made the heist and everything. And then, we get some cool little shots of him chatting it up with some people. And then he has some legit businesses.
Right.
His main one is like this Ford Lincoln Mercury dealership that he has.
Yes.
So he's a car dealer and, that's how he kind of like rinses his diamond.
Exactly. Like that's one of his fronts to like keep appearances up. Right. That's his car wash in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes, for sure.
So, and I do love like him walking through the lot there and just kind of yelling at guys, "Hey, move this one over there, put that car up there," and da da da. It's like just being the boss in order to be a boss. Like not, probably no purpose to any of that, but just I'm gonna make the guys move around a little bit, make them earn their minimum wage. Let's go.
It's the equivalent of the TPS report, right?
Yes,
it's like go do some stuff.
So then we see him in a cafe of some kind. He's sitting in a booth, and this is his fence that he's talking to, basically. And the guy, takes the diamonds off his hands. I think he says they're worth 800 something thousand on the street, so 185,000 is what they say. 185,000, which is it's nearly $1 million. No, maybe not quite that much, but it's like 750 grand in today's dollars, give or take. Like that's a lot of money.
Well, and especially adjusted for what you could have gotten for it. So like real estate wise and all this stuff, like he could have got himself set up in a nice apartment in New York City that would be $2 million now.
Exactly. It's like it's basically millions instead of hundreds of thousands, right? In actual purchasing power. So it's a lot of money. So he makes the deal. I don't quite understand. He must have a long standing relationship with his fence because he gives him the diamonds without getting the money. Yeah. Which to me is like, is that how that goes? I would assume you do that swap same time. Like, I don't know. Like,
he's violating a lot of like common sense criminal stuff, right?
I don't know why you would give up your loot without getting your payday, but but he does.
No, he does. And there goes his money. Mm-hmm. And then pretty much immediately.
Yeah. We cut to that guy having taken a swan dive out of a window onto the street below. Barry, Jim Belushi's character, is calling Frank and telling him like, "Hey man, he's gone." Yeah, and the cash, there's nothing on him. I guess he checked the body maybe.
Yeah, and I think he was on his way. He was supposed to pick up the cash there, and somebody beat them to it. So yeah, he had Frank and Barry's cash on him. When he died. So they're out all this money from the heist here.
185 grand.
But somebody has it, right?
Exactly. Somebody took it. Yep.
So Frank goes, and it doesn't really tell us like how he knows where to go. Like he knows a name and he knows a general place to go. Yeah. So he goes into some office, which looks like the shittiest office in the world, the actual main area where the desks are. It just seems like a miserable place to work. But then the executive office in the back is like as big as this entire area where 30 people are working.
To continue to make yet another Office Space reference, as you already have. It makes the office at Initech and Office Space look like paradise. Like that place in Thief is just so drab and just.
It's storage B.
It's so bad. Yeah, storage room B, exactly.
So, and James Caan gets to do a little James Caan in here. So he goes in and the guys, and this guy is, like some kind of sub boss in the organized crime structure. Like, I don't know exactly what he is, but he has a very kind of Fredo Corleone vibe to him.
Yeah, I agree.
And look to him. And he also looks like a combination of the guy in Happy Gilmore that's saying, "Hey, jackass," that guy, and the giant guy who is Happy Gilmore's boss with the nail in his head. He's like a hybrid of those two guys. So James Caan basically pulls a gun on him. He's like, and this guy's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "All right, give me my money in 3 hours. You owe me 185 grand. Let's meet." Yeah,
and it's interesting because it's clear that it's like a siding or plating or the business is a very generic industrial business that he walks into, and it's clear that it also is a front, like his car dealership and the bar he owns and stuff. It's the same thing. This is like, I mean, it might be a real business, but like nobody gives a shit about the business.
And it's so generic. Like he walks in, there's no real front desk. You just kind of walk into where everybody's desk is.
Yeah, it's a bullpen.
And he just tells someone, "Hey, I got a problem with my plating. I need to see the main boss." And then they let him in there.
It's so bad security there. Yeah, so there's that, and then I believe the next step is we are in jail for a moment here. Not in jail. Frank goes to jail to visit his buddy Okla.
Yes,
and Okla is his middle name. Very interesting middle name, but played by Willie Nelson. And looking good. Willie Nelson, 5 years ago, whatever, looking good,
right?
Ponytail, rocking it. But he's in there, and this is clearly like something very important to Frank. We don't get the whole detail till a little later. He tells us about Okla being a mentor, teaching him everything he knows about thievery and stealing and whatever. But he tells Frank, I've got angina, which I think is like a heart condition, right? And he's got maybe weeks to live, and he really doesn't want to die in prison. So get me out. I'm not sure. I guess the getting him out part, we do find out later. I guess they do it through the through the lawyers or whatever. But it's like at first I'm kind of like, is he expecting Frank to be able to like bust him out of jail? Like, what is this get him out
I wasn't
thing?
sure if it would be like blow the side off the
right,
prison and have him walk through the hole or something. But this scene was also kind of weird. And I don't know if it was just, I don't know, the way Willie Nelson is. My wife was watching this part of it. She made a comment that Willie Nelson looks like he's on LSD. Like his eyes were like shifting, but I don't know if that was trying to show his desperation, because he was just kind of doing the how's life been lately conversation with Frank, but also his eyes looked very like scared and desperate. So I don't know if he was just like, I need to tell you, like had that look of like, dude, get me out of here.
I will say this. I'll say Willie Nelson was 100% absolutely for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, high. He was high on pot shooting this. There's no way he wasn't. He's Willie Nelson. But also look, Willie Nelson's a fantastic singer, fantastic songwriter, don't get me wrong, but he's not a particularly gifted actor. Like when he's been in stuff, he's basically played himself or like done whatever, So I think if you're noticing stuff like that, the chances that they were like a really conscious acting choice by Nelson are probably fairly low. It probably just has to do with like, that's how it came to him to like feel nervous. Yeah. Hey, show us you're nervous, and that's kind of the best he could, I don't know that it was any deeper than that. Not trying to denigrate the guy. He did just fine in this role, but Nelson is not well known as an actor, obviously.
Right.
But he definitely is desperate, and he really doesn't want to die in prison. And I don't blame him. I mean, that sounds like a pretty awful place to be for your last days.
Yeah. And Frank, pretty much agrees, like, all right, I'll get you out of here. Like he's kind of determined to do it. This is one of the few people that he cares about in the world.
That's a good point. It really, we don't get much indication that he has a lot of people with him, for him, whatever so
now Frank is supposed to pick up the cash now. So he had made the agreement with this guy at the plating company, like, all right, the guy who's going to pay me is going to meet me at this place in 3 hours.
Right.
And he goes, and it's a classic like loading dock location, because that's where you meet to exchange contraband and money. Right. Yeah. And then we see that there's some cops on stake out there who are doing like the laziest job. Like they have the worst position. So Barry Jim Belushi is kind of watching Frank's back during all this. He has a sniper rifle. He's on a roof nearby. He has a great vantage point, right?
Yes.
And then these cops are like so fucking far away,
like 2 bridges down the river, like
super far. And they're, looking through binoculars and eating sandwiches, and shit's falling out of their sandwiches onto the floor. One thing that they say though, when they see the cash, they're like, "It's got to be 2 inches of money out there."
2 inches,
and I love inches of money. That's really
Americans
good.
will do anything to not use the metric system.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, I love it when we first see these characters standing there, and one of them I believe is Dennis Farina, like one of the homies, one of the like henchmen or whatever of the main kind of big boss guy, Leo.
And this is early Farina. He almost says nothing in this.
Really,
movie. I don't know if he has a line.
He may not have lines. He has a great death near the end, but like he doesn't. I don't think he does many lines. But Leo, played by Robert Prosky, is the sort of mob boss. Basically, he's like the head guy of this criminal organization. And then the person that Frank threatened in his office is there and is like, "I'm telling you, this guy's bad news. You should just kill him now," whatever. And Leo's basically like, "That, stop it. That's dumb. Like, I'm not gonna. This guy stole, almost $1 million worth of diamonds. Like, shut the fuck up." You know what I mean? It's like, it's funny to me when the boss's attitude of "I don't pay you to think" actually like makes a lot of sense. Like, don't let that guy think. That guy cannot make decisions. Like, he's clearly like just going off adrenaline of like, this guy busted into my office and da 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 da. So Frank shows up. The money gets changes hands. No problem. Leo says, "Didn't know whose it was. Now we know it's yours. There you go." But there's a lot more where that came from if you're willing to work for me.
Yeah.
And Frank's very, very resistant at first. He's like, "No, like I work for myself. I don't have a boss. I don't give anybody a cut. Like, this is all me. Like, I got one partner, like, or 2 partners, whatever." He's like, "No, I don't do that." Mm-hmm. And Leo's basically like, "Look, just think about it. 2-3 jobs tops. They're all set up for you. Like, we're doing all the legwork. It's going to be easy. You just got to execute. Just trust me. Like, I take care of my people, basically, right? And, initially, Leo seems like, for a criminal, for a crime boss, a pretty on the up and up kind of guy.
It's a good, honest seeming low pressure pitch from a guy who has every incentive to be lying.
Well, and every incentive to be lying and every ability to apply pressure.
Yes.
If he wanted to just apply pressure, he could easily, right?
Yeah. So it's, definitely a fault of Frank, where he's always kind of in search of this like father figure type, right? Between Okta and like, we find out later he was raised in the foster system. He didn't have any contact with his actual parents. So that's like a weakness that he has. So Leo might have even identified that here, but at the very least, he knows like, all right, this is one of the better guys at helping me get some more fucking money. I can use him for a while.
I also get the feeling that if Leo's clearly been doing this a while, he's probably dealt with a lot of people like Frank over the years, and the idea that many of them have sort of daddy issues in some sense is probably very common.
Oh, totally.
So I think him playing that role has probably helped him in the past. Work with these people.
And so Frank is telling him, okay, like, I'll work for you. I only want to do 1 or 2 months, because he's looking to retire. He's looking to get out of here. One of the big conversations that he had with Okta in jail is, I'm in love with this woman. She doesn't know what I do for money. She doesn't know what I really do. What should I tell her? And Okta's just like, lying gets you nowhere. You have to tell her the truth.
Actually, it's even better than that. I'll be honest, there's an even better line next to base, and I'm going to paraphrase, but it is like if you care about them, then lying to them just hurts them and hurts you. So don't do it. And if you don't care about them, then who the fuck are they that you need to lie to them?
Yes.
And I love that framing. Like,
totally.
It's like, hey, the people in your life who matter, don't lie to them. Be honest with them. And the people who don't matter, they don't deserve to be fucking lied to. Like, you don't have to make up shit for those assholes. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. Like,
that is a great philosophy. That is a great philosophy. So, he wants to do a couple jobs and get out of there. He clarifies to Leo, Frank does, I only steal diamonds or cash, which I love.
Yeah,
He's like, no other jewelry, no treasury bonds.
Like, no bearer bonds.
Why wouldn't you steal a stack of whatever? You have room in the duffel bag, dude. But I like that he has his own code that he's applied, so it makes it feel like, in his own mind, that I'm not really like a criminal. I am a specialist that exists in the world of criminals or something. There's something that he thinks about what he does that differentiates himself from, the other street criminals.
That, or it's, yes, and it's also kind of an indicator to us that Frank is not hot-blooded. He's not willful and kind of just doing whatever. He's incredibly calculating and careful, and has discovered, hey, when diamonds are stored in a safe, there are certain things I know about the size of the thing I'm stealing, about how much of it is. I know the kinds of the kinds of protection that people put on diamonds versus on other things. Like, there are just fewer variables, fewer unknowns if I stick to stealing diamonds.
Yeah.
And so there's an element of just like, I could steal other shit. I'm good at stealing stuff. I could do that. But why would I take on even a minuscule higher amount of risk if I know what the risk and reward is here and it works for me? Yeah. And that kind of carefulness and caution is very, very much Frank's MO until the very end of the movie.
And that's what's kept him like, on the streets.
Right. And
not
alive.
Caught, is like, not taking too big of a bite. Yeah. So I think here he goes to the bar where he's supposed to meet Jessie.
Correct.
And we haven't been introduced to Jessie yet. She's just been kind of mentioned, or we might have seen her
we saw
briefly.
one thing. She was a waitress at the diner that he was at or something. He just said hello as he left. Like, it wasn't much. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So there's some good ass grooves playing. There's a band there and everything. And we get, again, we were talking about this in a previous episode about the reluctance to cut off a song mid-song in any of these movies, like the Rocky IV syndrome, where this was like a full 2.5 minutes of the band playing at the bar and everything. But Frank gets to the bar. Jessie is pissed off. She's all dressed up, waiting for her date. She's like, what are you doing here? You're 2 hours late.
Crazy.
And then he's a piece of shit.
He's a complete asshole.
He is already, I don't know. You're not really sympathetic towards him quite even to this point.
We just know he's a criminal at this point. He might be good at what he does.
But it's just kind of like, okay, here's a criminal with no family. The best purpose he serves is moving contraband from one set of bad guys to another set of bad guys.
And his cover identity is a fucking used car salesman. So fuck this guy, right? Like,
that's true. Yeah. So he's at best Bill Paxton from True Lies.
Yeah, at best.
But then he's very awful to Jessie here. He's very rough with her, pulling her out of the bar.
Practically kidnaps her.
Dude, it's terrible. And then, anyone who steps to him, he's like, oh, you got a problem, like doing this James Caan stuff, which is effective. So I don't like him, but it's interesting, you know, this whole part. So he's driving with her now and kind of confessing like what he does.
Yeah, he's being honest. Like Oakless told him he should be. Like, yeah.
And she's like, at first, you know, kind of like, what the fuck? Yeah. But he's going through like, oh, you really think I'm a car dealership? And he runs down the retail price of everything that he's wearing, which I really enjoy. You know,
right. Always classic.
I got $150 slacks. I wear $800 suits. I got a 3 diamond, whatever diamond terminology he uses.
3 carat, very clear, no inclusions, flawless motherfucker. I don't know what he says, but it's a bunch of like really legit diamond talk. But you know, let's not give him too much credit here. It's on a pinky ring.
Oh, dude. Is there a bigger gross waist? Ugh. Yeah. Oh my God. So, you know, he takes her to the diner and they're kind of sitting, continuing the conversation.
And it's kind of a long conversation.
It is. Yeah.
It goes on for 7-8 minutes. I didn't actually mark it, but it seemed like a very long conversation. I gotta be, some of it is like the dumbest wooing. Like he tries to like convince her that her life is shit, so she should want to be with him. Sort of like, what's so great about your life? What do you got going on? You work in a fucking diner. Like, I got this. And it's like, yeah, you might not be wrong. This is like, he's soap checking very much. He's not wrong. He's just an asshole. Like, it's very much like, you know, and so I don't see why it works, but it does. At one point, he pulls out his mood board or vision board or whatever. His, like, because he's been reading The Secret. So clearly he's got, you know,
I love the mini vision board that he has folded up.
It's so crazy.
It's really good. And when he pulls out earlier in the movie, he has a gigantic wallet.
Yes,
just jammed full of every credit card.
It looks like Lewis from Trading Places.
Yes. And I really think that we should add either gigantic wallet or big 80s wallet, big ass wallet, whatever it is, as a new tag.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I enjoy seeing that in these movies.
We'll have to look back and see how many more besides those two, because I'm sure there's more. Yeah.
But his little, his 8.5 by 11 folded up vision board that he made in jail that shows up a couple times. I really love that. And she's like, oh, that's cool. That's actually not lame. That's awesome.
Also, what are we like physically? What are we looking at? Because she asks him, like, "Oh, did you cut these out of magazines, or whatever?" And it's like he says, "Yeah, but you know, we did collage work in school, right? You'd glue stick or paste or do whatever paper on paper. It had a look and feel, and things would peel up. This looked like he did that. Then he went to like whatever was Kinko's in 1981 and got a full color copy of it made on like thicker cardstock. Like, what? How does he have this thing?" This shouldn't exist in this world, this vision board.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
It's very strange and visually, very unclear as to what's going on until he's kind of explaining.
I also want to say real quick, this is where I put the note down for myself, because this is the first time I really noticed. I have not watched a ton of early James Caan stuff, like obviously The Godfather, but like not a lot of his, you know, kind of 70s and early 80s work. You know, I think of him more, a little more as we get into the 90s, and he's playing that more middle-aged and older, you know, characters. But I just did a full rewatch, the whole series of the show Entourage. And Scott Caan is in, you know, 3 seasons of that as a manager and agent or whatever. And it was when I realized, like, watching him there when he was in his late 20s, and here James Caan's probably in his mid to late 30s. And boy, does the apple did not fall far from the tree. Like, totally. Scott looks and talks and acts so much like his father. Yes. But I never really noticed it because I'm thinking of, like, you know, I'm in my head have compared James Caan in Elf to Scott Caan in Varsity Blues.
Yeah, totally.
And the ages are so separate that it's like you can't make a connection. But now, like, Scott Caan in Entourage, James Caan in this, they're much closer together. You go, oh, look at, like, there are so many little facets of mannerism and stuff that are the same, which is maybe why Scott doesn't get a lot of work lately. He's not really his own,
because it almost seems like an impression. Yeah, totally.
Interesting. But I thought it was really one of the first times I watched James Caan and saw so much of his adult son in him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is now that we've had an opportunity to see the next generation grow up a little bit, we're really seeing like the resemblance to the parents. So Frank and Jesse are having this conversation at the diner, and he's kind of running through. It's funny, you know, he's like, "I'm a thief. I've been to prison," and she's just like, "Where were you in prison? Could you pass the cream?" Like, being very casual as they're having this conversation. But what he explains is that when he was 18 or something, he went to jail for stealing $40. He was sentenced to 2 years in jail, and he ended up getting an additional like 9 years because he had manslaughter charge for like 1 or 2 other prisoners. And he tells her this terrible story about how at this place, like, there was this, you know, leader of the bad guys or whatever. They would take,
guard.
I was one of the guards, right? And they would take the prisoners for this, you know, game thing. Basically, the worst stuff that you hear about happens to people in prison. You know, beat them up, take advantage of them, whatever. and he found out he was next.
Right.
So what he did is, found a way to lash out at this. He ended up killing one of the guys and got to stay late. But what he found out is that he got a lot of respect in prison. Nobody touched him after that because he demonstrated that I don't care if I live or die.
Yeah, right.
I have nothing that's tying me to this world.
Yep.
So you really can't damage me.
I'll stay here as long as I have to if it means protecting myself or whatever. Yeah, because I'm sure, killing a guard, you're not going to get just a small. I mean, look, I know that killing inmates gets you additional sentence as well. I feel like killing a guard is going to get you even more.
Oh, for sure.
So the fact that he was even out 9 years later is a little surprising. But yeah, so basically, but he wins her over in this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, he really, is like, hey, like, be in this life with me, right? And be this vision board. I mean, she tells him she can't have children.
Yep.
And because he's got kids on the vision board, and he's like, oh, it's definitely what I want, and he said, but immediately, I mean, look, to his credit, immediately he's like, so we'll adopt. Like, finds out later, hey, being a felon makes that quite a bit harder than you might think it is. But, the idea that he's immediately willing to like even slightly adjust his perfect future in order to incorporate her in it is like pretty cool. Like honestly, that's like pretty cool. But I'm still a little surprised
if he was like just so into her specifically,
right,
that he would adjust. Or sometimes you get that point in a long process where something changes at the end, but you're just like, fuck it, whatever. Like you're sitting there all day trying to buy a car or something.
Right.
And then at the very end, they're like, oh, we actually have gray seats, not black seats. And you're just like, fuck it, I don't care. I'll just take the gray seats. Let's go. So yeah, but that was good that it showed that he was into her. He wasn't holding that over her head.
Right.
He didn't let her feel bad about that for a second.
That's true. That's kind of the point, I think, it wasn't even like oh, well, that really sucks. Well, I guess it'd be okay if it's like, he's like, no, fuck it, we'll adopt, like whatever, and it was very quick and I think does show at least a little bit that, he really does like her, and he's not just looking for a wife or something. Like he wants her.
And we find out later, why he doesn't see any inherent fault in an adopted child.
Right. Well,
because he's adopted himself and stuff.
Exactly.
So they're having this conversation, and now he's back with Leo, and they're scoping out the next heist.
Which is the first time of many times in this movie that I got very confused about the geography. Yeah. So they are in Los Angeles while doing this. They have flown from Chicago to Los Angeles without telling us anything about them moving. It's the Bank of California. They are on a rooftop in Los Angeles, casing a bank in Los Angeles that they're going to rob. And I don't think the movie does a good enough job of telling us that. But a few times later, they talk about the LA job. They clearly go out to LA to do the job and then are on the beach. Barry and Frank and their partners,
or
whatever it is. He talks about being in San Diego for like all this stuff. Yeah, they're in LA or San Diego. I actually don't know if it's LA or San Diego. It might be said, but they're in California. They're in Southern California to do this job, and they don't make the movie does not do a good job of telling us that.
Dude, okay, I watched it twice in the last week. I did not pick up on that. Michael Mann, if you're listening, I know that you're listening, but Michael Mann, little tip, you have to show a map of the United States with a little plane that goes from one place to another. Yeah. Otherwise, we have no idea what's happening.
It was a movie
here.
The same year that showed us that, Michael. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, all you need to do is talk to Steve.
Show us the Hollywood sign or the Mann's Chinese Theater or some kind of LA landmark.
Palm tree.
Yeah.
Just one palm tree. Those are clearly not in Chicago, right? Like
it's in the little Chicago neighborhood of LA. So there's no way to tell. Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah. So they're scoping out this bank from a roof, and they're having a conversation about what the deal's going to be.
Yeah.
And, Leo's like, look, you have a price. I'll tell you what the price is before it starts. That's how he had explained it to him before. And he says, there's $4 million worth of diamonds in there. So a perfect amount for you to get paid, of course, $830,000.
It's basically 20%.
I really love that this movie has the discipline to not use like super even dollar amounts.
That's true.
Earlier we had 185,000. Now we have 830,000. Yeah. He probably had exactly like 15 grand in expenses or whatever. So that we, I really like that. And they're talking about, this is a lock that has 5 stages, and we understand how to get through the first 4, but we have to figure out the 5th. And he needs a whole lot of like custom equipment. Yeah. And then we get Frank going to visit his like, is it M in James Bond? Why do I confuse this?
Yes,
his
M
guy who just makes like specific welding equipment for busting into safes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very interesting sort of chat with this. I can't remember the character's name actually, but yeah, the guy who has to basically build him a special tool, a unique special tool, because so the key with the thing is like there are 5 alarms in the building. 4 of them are tied to the phone line, so they're easy to bypass. They've done that before. The 5th one is not. They have to, and Leo tells Barry and Frank, I don't even know what it is. You're gonna have to figure that out.
Right.
That's part of your job.
Well, and like earlier you were saying the real skill of being a safe cracker is knowing where to drill into the safe. And the problem with this one is that they're all made different. So there's no real like schematic that tells you where to drill it.
He says 100% custom. There's no way to know. So they're going to need to do something else. And what he ends up talking to his, equipment building buddy about is like, I don't want to try to crack it. I don't want to try to drill into it. I want to burn it. I want to cut myself a brand new door.
Yep.
That's what I want to do. And it's like, that will take a hell of a lot of firepower, right? I mean, you're going to have to, carry something with you that's somewhat portable. You have to get it into the building that will actually generate, I think he said something like 7,000 degrees. I mean, like some ridiculously high temperature in order to actually cut through steel that thick. So, but that is the task that he sets upon his friend. And
right. And this scene is kind of funny because the guy's taking him through this, the metal shop or a foundry. Is that what that's called?
Guess,
whatever it is.
Like that.
But this and there's a guy in a white lab coat. So it's kind of like a who's the suit type situation. And Frank asks him like, what's up with this guy? And the guy's like, this is a metallurgist that they hired here. He's like, I could take one lick and tell you that something's 48% copper, 38% nickel, 8% whatever. And it reminds me of Yukon Cornelius from the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer claymation thing.
Yes.
How he sticks his pickaxe in the ground and then licks it to see if there's gold. So I love that. I love that he goes by instinct to tell you the composition of different metals.
Yeah. That's very cool. So so he agrees to build this tool for Frank. And I believe the next scene we get to is in a courtroom.
Yep.
And we've got a judge and a lawyer, and the lawyer is talking. Frank comes in and sits down. And the judge is, the lawyer is talking about Okla and, that he has this, he's terminally ill. He's old. He served most of his sentence. He should be released so that he can like die in peace basically outside of prison, because that's all that's going to happen. He's no longer a threat to anyone, all this stuff.
Yep.
And at first I'm like, why are the judge and lawyer like touching their faces so much? How weird is that? And I didn't get it until like the third time, like the back and forth went a few times.
Yes.
And then there were more fingers on the hands. I go, oh, they're signaling a bribe.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. And sure enough, that's what the lawyer tells. He's got 6 fingers on his face at the end, and he tells Frank, the judge is going to need $6,000 to get him out of there.
Yeah,
he'll be out this week or something like that. Like,
definitely something that was more subtle. And the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. So and he's obviously had some help now from Leo. So this thing that's very important to him, this favor now, has been facilitated by Leo. Leo's not putting up the $6,000, but Leo made that situation possible for him.
Yeah.
And he also has a house now.
Oh, that's right.
So
he and Jesse
Leo
bought a
has
house.
hooked Frank up with this beautiful house. So now he's got a place for Jesse and him and their future family to be. He has a little get together at his house. Belushi shows up in this sick white Corvette.
Yeah, it really is awesome.
I love this like late
vet.
70s Corvette, and it fits the Belushi character. Not even the character so much as what I'd imagine real life Jim Belushi to be like during this time frame. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I got a car. Yeah, don't give me this Escort here. I got to
I'm not going to drive a Gremlin. I got a vet I could bring."
I gotta say, disrespectful for him to buy a General Motors vehicle when his friend owned a Ford Lincoln Mercury dealership.
Right. His friend doesn't care.
He could have got a Mustang.
His friend doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's a front for his diamond stealing business. Yeah. Yeah. So they go and that's one of the times they talk about LA. And this is when Barry tells Frank he found out the deal with the alarm, I believe, the 5th alarm. Isn't that here? Yeah. So he basically tells him they got to walk, like it's this thing, it's over radio. It doesn't work over the phone lines. It goes off every morning when they show up. They have 10 seconds to speak a code word into the walkie-talkie that goes straight to the alarm company, and that gets it shut off. So we just have to listen for the code word like the week before we do it, because they could change it often. So if they find it out a day or two before, nobody's going to change that code word every day. That would that would kind of defeat the purpose. So that's the plan. So they at least now have their plan of attack for that 5th alarm, and that's and then they got the guy building the torch or whatever they're going to need. So like the wheels are all in motion to kind of get this heist done.
Definitely. And so they're going, and the extended time frame of this movie I do like, because it allows these things to develop realistically. You know, so it's not like this all happens in a week or 4 days.
I get you. I agree with you. And there are enough indications that time is passing and everything, but it isn't super clear how much. I think it's really hard to track. Like, is it weeks later? Is it months? Like, how much time is passing for this? It can be a little hard to tell, I think. Like,
and I think that when they were on the roof kind of casing the job, Frank might have said that it would take like 4 to 8 weeks.
That sounds right.
To figure this stuff out.
Right.
So Frank and Jesse are now sitting down speaking to a woman that we find out is the adoption agency. And she's going through the application, like, well, you have a prison listed as your employer from this year to this year. Yeah. And she's asking, what did you do? He's like, I spot welded desks. She's like, what? Okay. What did you do after that? I got moved to shoes. Right.
Yeah.
And, we find out that, or we knew this, that he was a prisoner, but he tells the lady. And obviously that's going to disqualify them from adoption.
Right.
And, he's kind of losing his mind a little bit. And he's suggesting like, well, there are kids that he's like, there are more parents than there are kids is what they're told.
Right.
And he's like, well, that sounds like your problem. This place should be empty now.
Yeah.
If you have these parents who are looking for kids. And then he says some, definitely undesirable things, racial comments, but basically like, give me your least
desirable
kid.
Like you say, nobody wants older kids. Give us a 6-year-old. You say, does nobody want, like, I'm not going to use the words he uses, but Asian or black or Latino kids. Give us one of those. Like, we're not picky. We want to raise children, which, I'll be honest with you, feels a little red flag-ish. Sort of like, just give us a kid.
Just give us
we don't
baby.
Care. It's like, oh, dude, all right, slow down, Jesus. Like,
totally.
But they are pretty roundly denied, and it's made clear that like that's not an avenue that's open to them is traditional adoption. So.
Right, and he starts to have a meltdown.
Yeah.
And at this point, you kind of feel like this could become really over the top and violent. But I think the direction that he takes it, where he it goes from like. It goes from like anger to pain, as he's talking about like, I was state raised, like, I know what it's like in these walls, and the way that he's describing the place, it really does seem like part of what he wants is, I want the family with the kid, but also I have the opportunity and the means to rescue somebody from this situation that I was raised in.
Right.
So he's kind of like defeated. He's finding out like there's not really a path to redemption for him, for somebody with his background, to have a normal life and everything. So it's like a subdued meltdown. He's not throwing shit around and they're let out of there, but he is really like defeated after this.
Yeah. So that kind of ends, and we move on, and the next thing is basically he gets pulled over, but not with a siren or with an alarm or anything like that. Just the car like honks at him and he pulls over, which I'm like, why would anyone do this?
Yeah.
It's the cops that we saw staking out the money transfer from Leo.
Right.
So they clearly know what's going on. They know at least who Frank works with, kind of person Frank is, all this stuff. And so they get out and they basically hustle him and they say like, hey, whatever you're doing, we get 10%. Or we hassle you. That's essentially it, right?
Who is auditing this, by the way? Like the world of underworld percentages always fascinates me. It's like 10% of gross, 10% of, after my expenses.
Right.
Do I get something for my time before I figure you're cut in?
No.
Like there's no checks and balances.
No.
It's just you have to know what that means.
But
right?
the 10% or any percent is always off the top.
Yeah.
Anybody claiming it is like, no, it's my cut first, essentially, right? And if you've got somebody else you're giving a cut to first, fine, I'm just getting it before your cut, kind of thing. And then, the actual amounts, it's like, that's probably pretty, the dangerous part of that is that if they think, well, you should have gotten $400,000 for this. You only got 180. I don't care. Give me the 40 grand I think I'm owed. Like there's that element.
So you're entering, like you're opening the door for them to have a lot of control over what you do.
And one of the cops that is bothering him, I don't understand his necktie. He appears to have stopped halfway through tying his tie, where like before you do the tie, you pull the large, the wide piece underneath, and then you tuck it into the knot and tighten it. Like that's sort of the way.
Yeah.
He just let it flop over. So there's not, it's like sort of tight on his neck and then it just flops over. Like there's no knot.
Yeah.
Was this a style? Like I obviously have no idea what menswear style was like in 1981. I was wearing diapers. So I don't know, but like.
It's like an angsty teen who has to attend a first communion. And he's like, Mom, I'm technically wearing a tie.
That's what it looks like.
What you said.
Except this is Sergeant so-and-so or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, holy crap. But yeah, very strange tie. But basically
Sergeant Eurizzi. I like that name.
Eurizzi.
It's a good one.
But he basically tells him he doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about and they should fuck off. Like he doesn't buy into their shit and he drives off basically.
And when he gets home, he immediately takes apart the phone.
Yeah.
He gets back to the house and he sees the phone is bugged and stuff. And again, it doesn't set off quite the proper alarms with him, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
he's making the connection that because I'm involved with Leo, now the cops are onto me, instead of making the connection that this Leo provided house comes pre-bugged because he needs, like, he has control over me,
Exactly.
So, the heat's on him and he goes and tells the boss. So in my opinion, this was set up by Leo to add an extra element, because Leo and the cops, they're all kind of in league together.
Yeah, I mean,
the cops have to probably kick up to Leo of part of their 10%.
Potentially,
shit,
right. And I think, or they pay him by ignoring him, basically, right? And potentially providing some protection. And yeah, we get, later in the movie, Leo and Frank are at odds with each other, and Leo basically complains that when Frank was hit up by the cops for a cut, that he didn't just do it like everybody else does. He had to fight it. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, if Leo weren't in bed with those cops, he probably would have been proud of Frank for being like, tell those pigs to fuck off. But they're together. So yeah. But he talks to Leo and tells him about the problems that they had with trying to adopt, and they really want to have a kid and all this stuff. And Leo's basically like, you want a kid? I'll get you a kid. No problem. How do you do that? I know women who don't want their kids, and I'm paying them to have their kids. And it's like, holy, she's got this whole human baby marketplace thing going on. Leo does. He even says, like, you want a boy, you want a girl? Like, let me know and I'll get it for you. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, he says, like, name the make.
Name the make.
Right. Crazy, right? And again, red flag. When somebody tells you about the ethical sourcing of their child trafficking, do not believe them, It's like, these are farm to table kids.
Farm to table,
some real. So we're getting back quickly now to Oakland. So Frank should be excited because and when Leo is kind of making the pitch to Frank, he's having this conversation. He's learning about Frank's weaknesses here. And he's making the pitch to him about, like, I can get you a kid. The way that he's lit in that scene, the way that his face looks, I mean, it's definitely like a deal with the devil type.
Yeah.
Look, it's really cool.
Faustian.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we're back. We're back to see Okla, who's been released from prison, but he's in the hospital because of his condition and everything. He wasn't in good shape.
Nope.
And so we're at the hospital there. Okla is in his bed and he's alive. He opens his eyes, but pretty much immediately dies. This was an interesting choice because I thought that all the effort to get Okla out, that he would be involved in the final heist.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe he'd die during that. Like, that's what traditionally I would expect, is bring the mentor back for one last job. He coughs into a napkin. He sees blood on it. Whatever.
But ignore it. Just move on. Yeah. Very Sopranos, right? The old hitman that does one last hit or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah. But no, Okla passes here, and Frank is broken up, obviously. But pretty quickly cheered up by the fact that they get their kid.
Yeah.
They go and pick up a kid from ostensibly the birth mother, I guess.
Yeah.
Is who they pick it up from. It's kind of hard to tell.
They pick up a kid with, like, the least amount of accessory. It's almost like bringing home a goldfish from the fair where it's just in a plastic bag full of water. Right. Like, there's no bowl, there's no rocks, there's no food or anything. It's just like, here's your loose baby in a blanket. I trust that you have all the accoutrement.
Well, that's what I immediately made me think of Raising Arizona, where they get the baby back and it's like, do they have diapers? Do they have formula? What do they have? I think maybe we'll need to find add another tag to the website of, like, non-traditional baby acquiring, like baby acquisition by non-traditional means, at least these two movies.
Yeah, it is funny, like, the difference between, like, the duo who's getting the baby illegally versus in these two movies. One thing real quick, when Okla passed away, the doctor comes out and he's telling Frank and everything, like, he's gone. The doctor's black, and there's definitely tension. He doesn't say anything, but, like, the way that Frank kind of gives this distrustful look, because we know that Frank is, like, a deep down racist guy. He's a 40-year-old man in 1981, a white guy who went to jail and all that stuff. This motherfucker's racist. And the doctor knows that people do not trust his professionalism as a doctor because he's black. And there's this kind of, like, staring exchange between the two of them that I thought was pretty interesting.
And it doesn't end up coming to anything, but there's, like, a tension there that is part of that. Although I do think the doctor also had some pretty stupid things to say, like, let me know if there's anything I can do.
It was too quick,
like, what the
fuck?
Like,
he was like, hey, I'm sorry your friend's dead. And then he's like, are you okay? Do you want to sit down? I was like, give me a couple beats, right? Like, I don't need your ass in my face. I don't know you.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have their baby.
Yes.
And they're celebrating at a classic Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, very nice. Not the waiter asks him, it's a good looking baby. What's your baby's name? And she said, no name yet, which is, like, funny because that is clearly, like, a 9-month-old baby. That is, like, not a
That's
newborn.
That's a lot of thinking.
It's a lot. So, but they say no name yet, and then the waiter walks away and they're chatting a bit, and I immediately thought to myself, like, oh my God, they're going to name this fucking baby Okla. I know it. They're going to name him Okla. And so Frank says something about like, Okla dies and now we got this baby. Like, so she goes, you want to name him after Okla? And I'm like, holy fuck, they're actually going to name this baby Okla. And he goes, well, Okla's real name was Davy. So how about David? It's like, oh, okay. So they gave the kid a real name. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okla, I'm assuming he was from Oklahoma and that's his nickname is what I'm guessing. But like, but yeah, David is obviously a very fine name. So, but then the waiter comes back and is like, okay, our baby's name is David. It's like, wait a minute. This is like a kid who's many months old. You haven't chosen a name yet. The first second a waiter asks you, what's the kid's name? Like, that's when you go, God, we probably should come up with something. We should probably name this kid, right? Like, so weird. So weird.
And not only that,
welcome home, son. Like,
Yeah. He like snaps and gestures the waiter over to tell him
the name.
Hey, my kid's name is David. And then the waiter, who's the most casual guy, he has a toothpick in his mouth the whole time, but he's just like, David. It's a good name.
It's a good name.
And then they're like, cool, mission accomplished here. The look of this movie, this is like a very blue movie, with little pops of like bright yellow, bright red in brake lights and stuff like that. But the look of it is very cool and it's very consistent, especially as we kind of get into this part of the film. Frank receives a phone call at a bar, which I love. The pre-cell phone era. I think we should get rid of all of our smartphones and everyone just pick a bar, and that's where you're reachable.
Exactly.
Let's see.
Barry found out the code, basically.
Barry found out the code, right? So he's like trying to eavesdrop on this guy, and they find out that the code is Mexico.
That's right.
Like, good. We have the last thing that we need. Let's roll.
Yeah. So before they can get out of town and get to their actual like heist, Frank gets picked up by the cops, roughed up a hell of a lot, but still is not giving in, is not gonna, give them anything. Even after getting slammed in the head with a phone book, for Christ's sake. But yeah, this was actually the scene where I noticed Sergeant Eurizzi's tie was completely unhinged and psychotic, but
And they're roughing him up. I mean, again, restraint, just like earlier he had restraint, not freaking out in the adoption agency. The cops are like roughing him up, but they're doing it to code. They're not doing anything technically that would get them in trouble.
And they don't want to hurt him because they want him to do this job he's supposed to do, for them, right, to get their kickback. So if they actually like break his arms or something, well, now he can't do the job. Now you can't get paid. So there is that element of like, we want to scare you and we want to rough you up, but we also need you, in fighting, form or whatever.
Right.
And so he leaves the cop station.
And this is the closest to like a zinger that we have in this movie here, right? So Eurizzi, all the cops are kind of surrounding him and they're doing different techniques. One guy's like, hey, it's not that bad. We can hang out. There's things we can do to like round the corners on this or whatever he says. And Eurizzi basically gets in his face. He's like, I'm Sergeant Eurizzi. You remember my name? And he says, oh, I didn't know they hired Puerto Ricans. And the guy's like, I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm Italian. And then Frank says, nice to meet you, you ugly wop son of a bitch. And, that really throws him off. So
yeah, he's a character, that's for sure.
But the cops are on his ass. They have tracking devices and everything. They have tracking devices that are meant to be discovered and then the real one and all this stuff.
Yeah, and so Frank is smart enough to take the real tracking device, the one that they're actually using to track him, and he sticks it on a Greyhound bus headed for Des Moines, Iowa. So the cops are going to be chasing a ghost for a while.
Right.
Which is so funny because I thought to myself at first, that gets him out of town for a little bit, but like not long enough for them to do the job. Oh, wait, that's right. They have to fly 2,000 miles away to go to the job.
Yeah.
To go do the job in San Diego. I forgot. Okay. But yeah, so that is when the heist now begins. We get to the heist. He picks up the torch thing, this crazy long torch thing. I don't even know how it works, but you light it with like an arc welder, like a blowtorch.
Yep.
It's how you light the end of it. And then I guess, 7,000 degrees worth of whatever the hell it is.
This thing's crazy. And I like that it's so unwieldy. It's not like a cool looking handheld thing. It is more realistic that, this job of busting into safes kind of really sucks because you have to deal with some stuff that's very difficult to deal with.
Yeah. I thought this whole safe cracking, well, I mean, we can get to the whole heist starts before the safe cracking, but like, they're doing the phone stuff up on the roof, using the elevator shaft to kind of get inside. They call in the code. Everything kind of goes perfectly. Like nothing really screws up in the entering the building.
Yep.
And I really thought that the whole sequence of the safe cracking was very cool. This was probably the coolest sequence. The sparks and the lighting, the way that it showed the steel melting away and stuff. Really just very, very cool. The whole thing. It's another scene that kind of takes a while. A lot of the scenes in this movie like are drawn out. It's not a fast cut, fast paced type film. It's a slow burn. So, this scene in particular does last a while, but I thought it was like really interesting and just very cool looking.
And the shots that we get, and this is also a scene where there's no music during this scene. This is just the sound effects of this. There's no dialogue. There's no music. I know you must love that. But
one of the reasons I love that one.
But yeah, the detail of it, and then it will periodically show the point of view, like from the inside of the safe, what's happening, like as they start to penetrate it and stuff. But yeah, really cool. And again, I am a better safe cracker having watched this movie. There's kind of two guys running the torch, and then the third guy whose job I love is he's just kind of like spot extinguishing with a fire extinguisher. And I love blasting off a fire. So I don't like dealing with the fire, but I love recreationally blasting a fire extinguisher off. It's really fun.
Well, it's kind of, it's like, really neat. Yeah. The way he has to follow all the sparks. It's very cool. It's yet another indicator of like the pro level of them, and like the fact that like, look, we're not going to let the place burn down. We need to like do this and then get away. So let's make sure we're not like letting these 7,000 degree sparks just they're on tile floor and it was still catching fire. It's crazy.
They had to move. They moved all the wooden furniture, all the stuff out of the way, and it showed them doing that. So it was very like instructional, at least like they don't just show up and it's perfectly ready for them to go.
That's true. I will say this though, Barry handles the alarms for the most part. He had to find out the code. He does a lot of the hooking stuff up, finding the right setup to get them through the alarms. The mentor, I think his name might have been Sal, the guy at the foundry, the metallurgy place. Like he built the tool to actually get them in. All Frank's got to do is show up.
Yeah.
Like this one, I really don't feel like there was a lot of skill on Frank's part this time.
Yeah.
Like Leo's team did a bunch of prep work. Barry got them in through the alarms. Sal or whatever his name is made the tool. Frank's just got to show up there and stand there with it, wearing gloves.
He holds the tool.
He holds the tool. That's about it.
He gets the torch lit for him.
Right, by
and
Barry.
He gets his welding helmet put on for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's the princess in this whole situation.
Yes, exactly.
So they come out, and again, we have some wonderful, these are loose diamonds. These are not all enveloped diamonds and everything. Yeah. And there's a scene of just as the music comes back in. So there's no music during this whole safe cracking. Then it comes back on as we get Frank, who grabs a chair from the pile and looks like he's taking one of the most well-deserved sit downs you've ever seen. Just kind of like sitting there and enjoying it.
Yeah.
So now we're back in kind of the beach in San Diego, and they don't get paid right away. The heat has to cool down a little bit, so they're cooling off there,
spending a little time there, and it's Barry, and I don't know if it's his wife or girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah,
and then Jesse is there with them as well, and they're all just enjoying the beach together.
Barry tackles his girlfriend in the ocean in a way that would easily be a personal foul penalty.
Really
like you do not dive at somebody's ankles.
I thought this. Like I looked at it, I thought, isn't that like a chop block? Isn't that be like 10 yards? Like what's going on here?
So they're kind of just enjoying the beach, and during this whole time is like a guitar solo that's a couple minutes long, which great
Lovely.
for me, bad for Steve.
Lovely.
I think the song is titled "What Could Go Wrong."
Is that
but we find out soon that things aren't always what they seem, because Frank goes to pick up his payment from Leo, and
at Leo's house.
There. You owe me the convenient cinema friendly sum of $830,000.
Right. Yeah.
Here you go. And it's definitely the envelope's a little light moment.
Yes.
It is less than 2 inches of money.
Right. Yeah. He says something that's like maybe like $100,000 here or something like that, right? It's not even as much, I think, as the original payment that he got at the beginning of the movie. And Leo's like, yeah, I put it into that shopping mall in Florida I told you about, and I put it into this real estate over here, and I put it so it's going to work for you. I take care of my people. And Frank's pissed. He's like, that wasn't the deal, man. I told you one job, and I'm going to get paid in cash, and that's it. Because when Frank talked to Leo about the kid, Leo mentioned, hey, like I can put some of yours to work. He goes, I don't want it on the street. He goes, no, legit, like in real estate and stuff, like so it'll pay dividends. Which is like, look, seems like a reasonably good idea, but Frank's like, fuck that.
But you're not giving durable power of attorney to a mob boss.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
So again, Frank knows like, all right, this guy's trying to screw me over. Yeah. Like, nope, no deal. Like, look, you profited from my work. Yep. Like I did all this stuff. You made a bunch of money from that. I'm fine with that because I made the deal. I need you to hold up your damn deal. You got 24 hours to pay me.
Right. Which doesn't really go over well with Leo.
Yeah.
He's a little upset by that.
He doesn't like it. And also Frank pulls a gun on him.
That's
Leo's
right.
security doesn't rough up Frank. They let him say his piece and they let him leave.
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to meet at the car dealership 24 hours from now and you're going to pay me my damn money and then we're done forever.
Yeah. And then I think this is when Frank goes and heads back to the dealership, I think, right, to do this meet. And this is where Barry has already been kind of captured by the cops. Urizzi and the other cops that roughed Frank up have also been beating the hell out of Barry.
Yeah.
And they tell him, because Frank shows up and they tell him, Barry, you got to call him over here because we're going to, whatever. And finally he does say something. He goes like, Frank, it's a trap, or like whatever. And they this kind of fight ensues. Barry gets blown away with a shotgun, right?
Belushi chunks hitting the van.
God,
like he gets shot up against a white van and there's just meat hitting that van. It is gnarly.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And then, Frank is fighting them and Barry's dead. And then I think this is when Leo captures Frank. Is that right? Yeah.
So they overcome Frank because Frank is still valuable to them. And he wakes up in like just a perfect bad guy location. There's all these tanks. I don't even know what this place is, but it appears that there's various perfect places to store dead bodies where nobody's ever going to be seen.
Some kind of chemical plant or something.
And Frank comes to, and of course, Leo and the boys are standing around him. And Leo's basically saying like, the thing that used to make you tough, that made you like uncorruptible, is you didn't care about anything in your life.
Right.
You can't pull that tough guy shit with me anymore because you do have a life. You have a home, you have a wife, you have a family, and I gave you all that shit.
Right.
Like if I decide to take it away from you, you're gone tomorrow. I turn your wife into a whore. I take your kid away. Like just brutal shit, and he is living in absolute hell. So with this situation, because he's just like, from now on, you do what I fucking say.
Right.
You get paid what I say.
Like I own you.
And you work until you're dead or broken down. Like I own you. This is your life now.
Yeah. To which Frank replies, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Because he then goes home and he goes to Jessie, wakes her up in the middle of the night and says, you're leaving. Do you understand? You're leaving. And I'm thinking to myself, no, she doesn't understand. She's half asleep. He says, you take the kid, you take yourself, you get the fuck out of here. Like, we're done. You're never going to see me again. Get out.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't get this. I feel like there was an element to this that took me a bit to like understand, like, why is he doing all this? Like, if he wins, if he defeats Leo, why has he got to do all this? But I think he's just thinking at the time, A, I'm not going to be able to do what I have to do if I do have things to come home to.
Yeah.
And B, I'm not going to probably survive this. Leo's probably got my number.
Right. Like I can't put myself in a situation where I have to preserve my own life.
Exactly. Yeah. So he sends Jessie and the baby away. I think it's his wheelman, I think, is the one, because Barry's gone now, but his wheelman is one who drives them off. And he tells her, like, you're going to pay him this much for the first month, this much for the second month, this much for the third month. By then you should be able to be on your own. But this is, like $400,000 or something he had, right? And he's like, this should take care of you for a while. And
5.5 inches of money.
Probably. There you go. And so then he burns the house down.
Yeah. And it's
crazy.
Like, you don't really know what's happening. Like, he sends her off and everything. And then he comes out of the house. He drives away. Boom. The house blows up. It's great.
Crazy.
And then he pulls up to the Green Mill Cocktail Lounge, which I think we're not shown this from the outside at another point, I don't think.
It's the bar that he's been going to,
right?
The one where he's getting phone calls at. It's his bar. Yeah. They at one point mentioned that he owns a club. So I think this is the one that,
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So he blows this shit.
Yeah. Yep.
He goes to the car dealership. Every single car individually on fire.
Lighting them all on fire. Yep.
It's really nice. And again, this happens very quick. It's funny for as slow of a build as this movie is, between kicking his wife out and then showing up at Leo's house for revenge.
2 minutes?
That's just, a couple minutes,
so fast. And I got to be honest, because it was going so fast, I got a little confused by it. I thought to myself, before he arrives at Leo's, I go, is he like faking their deaths? What does he do? Is he going to meet up with her? Now, he kind of told her to fuck off, that they're not going to see each other. So I'm just not sure what he's doing. And is it because Leo made a point to him, I own all these things that you were, and he's just destroying that, but that didn't quite match with him destroying all the inventory at the car dealership. It took me a while to come around to, he's just cutting all ties, becoming a man with nothing to lose.
Yep.
That's the point of all this. But it's not, Mann does not do a great job of making that clear.
Yeah. And it does kind of group his like legitimate businesses with the wife and the kid a little too much. Like I feel like the wife and the kid take him to an entirely different level of having something to live for and something to care about. But during this scene, it's like, I'm burning all this.
Because he's had that stuff for a while.
Yeah.
And he's been, I don't give a fuck for a while.
Right.
So if he got rid of like Jesse and the baby in the house, seems like that would be enough for him to sort of cut ties with his, you know, earthly worries, essentially. And then still potentially have a couple businesses and all those people employed.
Right. He was a job creator there.
I did say, so then he pulled, when he's at the car dealership, he pulls the vision board back out of his wallet one last time, looks at it, crumples it up and throws it on the ground. At which point I wrote the note, I'm rooting for Leo at this point. Like, this is just not quite working for me.
I would have loved if he lit the vision board on fire while he held it in his hand. That would have been cool.
That would have been better.
And we see like Okla's face burning, you know, as it cuts to the other scene. Yeah. So he shows up to Leo's house. And again, you know, Leo, I'm the boss. I'm in control of everything. I'm the big man. Nothing happens until I can say, but my life is hanging out with this guy, this Fredo guy, who's a fucking, at best, like a dumb, annoying guy. And he's sitting there reading the newspaper in this boring looking living room. And Fredo's like, hey, do you want some milk? I'm going to go get myself a glass of milk. So it's like Leo, for all his power and stuff, has this life that is not enviable in any way.
I do feel like this is like indicative of sort of Chicago underworld folks. Like, I feel like we've seen this kind of thing specifically from like Chicago-based mobsters and other movies and things. It reminds me a little bit of, I know he's not a mobster, but have you ever watched the show The Bear? And the Oliver Platt character, uncle, whatever. I get the vibe, same vibe as Leo,
totally
off of that character as well, and same kind of thing where it's just like, if when you boil it down, nice suburban house in a boring neighborhood. Really, when you get down to it, right?
Totally, yeah. I mean, just trying to have like the Tony Soprano life. Like I just because the only avenue to like, it's like the Chris Rock joke about, you know, like in my neighborhood, like there's three black people who are all at the absolute apex of their
Jay-Z and Mary J. Blige or whatever.
Right. And then my neighbor is white and he's a dentist. You know, all that shit. So it's like, to be a underworld figure and live in that neighborhood, you have to be top of the game. So basically, Frank comes in, he pistol whips the guy who's drinking milk. And he's going after Leo. Leo knows that somebody's there. And
he heard the commotion or whatever.
Hiding behind, in a very unglamorous, uncool way, like kind of hiding behind this cabinet.
Looks like a curio cabinet, maybe full of, precious moments, figurines or something like that. It's kind of the vibe. Like,
But they're all like Chicago sports themed precious moments.
It's a bunch of Bears starting lineup figures.
Exactly. Oh, I got a Gail Sayers porcelain figure. So Frank just takes Leo out. You know, Leo's there. He takes a couple of shots towards Frank. Frank just blasts him. There's some good squibs here.
That really pop out.
He doesn't kill Frank. He doesn't kill Leo all the way. So Leo kind of he lets him recover a bit, take another shot at him, and then absolutely destroys him. Puts
him one between the eyes, which is of course alerts Leo's other sort of dudes or whatever. And there's now more gunplay and more gunfighting. It actually looks like at one point, so Frank does catch a bullet or a shotgun blast, I guess, from the Dennis Farina character. And I thought, oh shit, Frank's dead. They killed. The interesting way to end this movie. He said, oh wait, no, he's fine. Never mind. So then he kills Dennis Farina and walks away. Right? Isn't that kind of it? He just kind of walks down the street.
Right. So he takes out the two henchmen and then starts walking away. And I expected it to be the scene where like you see the sirens coming towards the house where it seems inevitable that he'll be caught or killed. But it was just kind of like, hey, stay tuned for Thief 2 coming next summer.
Right. Which, and now I'm even more like, at this point in the movie, watching it, I'm even more like, dude, you could have had a car dealership and a bar. Like, why did you win.
Right.
You didn't need to do any of the things you did. Maybe you should have done them after, but I get that there's an element of you have to lose everything in order to act like a man with nothing to lose. So there's that, but it's still just like,
you did the stuff in the wrong order.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Again, like maybe send the wife and kid away with all the money so that if you die, they are away and have money and you'll never see them again because you're dead. But if you just sent them away saying, look, I'm either going to die or I'm not, then maybe you call her up and go, hey, guess what?
Right.
I didn't die. This is cool. Come home.
Yeah.
And I didn't blow up the house or my car dealership or my bar. Maybe I don't have to be a thief anymore. Like there's all kinds of things.
He could have solved this problem. Yeah, it was like he had to revert to being like the worst version of what he was because that was all he knew. Yeah. But he could have told his wife like, hey, find a bar. I will call you at that bar, and then I'll meet.
He's going. His wheelman's going with him. Getting paid for 3 months. That's who he calls. I'm going to check in with you in a week.
Yeah,
or whatever. I don't know. It's just like and I guess there's a part of me that wants the character to be smarter than he is, and that's maybe my problem as a viewer. And this is just this just makes sense for this character in a lot of ways. But man, it was not a satisfying ending whatsoever for me. Like,
no, I don't think so. And I mean, that's a lot of the point of it, maybe. Yeah. And it's just like, you're just not allowed to have certain shit. Like, sorry, like, fuck you. You want happiness, you want this, but you have a criminal past. Like, you're not allowed to have this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of bleak at the end there.
Oh yeah. Very.
And then I feel, once again, as a fan of the soundtrack, you get a sick guitar solo to end this film, dude. I enjoy the shit out of it. Yeah. So that is 1981's Thief.
Yeah, it's very interesting movie at the very least. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was my pick.
It was.
So I'll fire
hit us with it, man.
First.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah. So having never seen this before, and this is definitely far different from other stuff that we've seen. I mean, this is probably the slowest paced movie that we've seen. Definitely feels more like we talked about, like a 70s type movie than it does an 80s movie. But it's kind of like you see the 80s start to shine a little bit, where there's a little more of a stylistic look rather than just be like super gritty black, like some color pops and stuff like that. Cool looking clothes. I like the music. As a fan of the music, it gets an extra point.
Fair enough.
From me. I do like the performance. And again, I don't like the character. I don't like the guy.
That's fine though, right?
But I think that, like you said, it's supposed to be a dumb guy who can't figure it out, even if it's sitting right there in front of him.
Fair.
It's a guy who has like low enough emotional intelligence that he can't see that Leo is trying to manipulate him in all these parts, because he's just been already beaten down and like things have been stripped from him by the system or whatever. It's not necessarily a fun watch. It's a long movie, but I don't know like what I really cut out of it. There's not a ton that's like super irrelevant other than him going to talk to that dude fishing at the lake, which doesn't come out later, but that is a beautifully shot scene.
It is gorgeous.
So I think if you settle into the vibe and the atmosphere of the movie, that's the best way to enjoy it. It's not a put on in the background while you're chatting with friends thing.
Right.
It's definitely like a lock in and focus. I am going to give Thief a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was cool. I thought it was well done. I mean, you can't say that the movie looks bad. You can't say that they weren't trying, that there's not like an artistic element to it.
Yeah.
It's just that the things that are not satisfying about it have to do with the story. And I struggle wondering, like, is it because the story's bad, or it's because this is an accurate story about what would happen to like these type of guys?
Yeah.
So 3.5 for me. I think it's definitely worth checking out and should be known more than it is.
That's fair. I mean, and I think, look, there's a lot of kind of, I won't even say things to like, but a lot of interesting things about this movie. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad you brought it to the table for us. You know, Michael Mann's first film, Jim Belushi in a role where he's never a doofus or never that guy. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a very straight role by Jim Belushi in a lot of ways. I kind of dug that. I mean, he did a little later. What was that movie he did with Dolph Lundgren? The where he was the Russian and the American
Red
cop.
Heat or,
something like
one
that.
of those
right?
things.
Like you know, similar to that, where it's like there's not really a goofiness to him in it or anything like that, and he can pull that off. Love seeing Willie Nelson on screen. I'm a big Willie Nelson fan. Seen him live a couple times. He's a fantastic artist. Big fan of Willie Nelson's. I didn't like this movie. I didn't like this movie for a lot of reasons. I found the plot hard to follow at times, and I was not doing other things while watching it. And I've watched a few movies, so I feel like I'm a fairly savvy movie watcher. But like things like the geography, the fact that they were flying back and forth between California and Chicago was not real clear. It took me a while to figure that out. I hated the music. I don't hate synth music as a rule. Like it's not like I'm against like 80s new wave or like I said, Vangelis made a joke earlier about Vangelis and Blade Runner and this being like Vangelis and No Talent. I adore the soundtrack to Blade Runner. I think it's fantastic. And it is similar in some ways, but there was a sharpness and a lack of layers in the music that was a problem for me. Like the way, if you listen to the Blade Runner soundtrack, there are so many harmonized layers of that sound, that electronic sound, that it gives you this very textured and full of depth musical bed for everything to sit on top of. And this was the other way around. It was so sharp and so above the sound level of everything else going on that it was the music on top of the movie and not the other way around. And to me, if the music is supporting the movie and everything is layering on top of the music, that's good. And if the music is shadowing things and becoming what I notice more than everything else in the thing, then it is actively detrimental to the film. So that's my take on the music. It's not even so much that I dislike the style, although it's not my bag of tea or whatever, my cup of tea, my bag of rocks, or whatever the hell fuck you
Your
call
bag
it.
of tea soaking in a cup of hot water.
Exactly. You know, that kind of thing. It's not for me. That's fine. But I felt like it was actively undermining my enjoyment of the movie, which is a little different. So I am a 1 out of 5 on Thief. I did not care for it. I don't think I'd recommend it to anybody. I don't think there's anything in it that you go, oh man, you got to see this. There's no single scene that makes me go, oh, holy shit, I got to make sure people see this. Like a lot of times there's movies that I think are like kind of bad movies, but they made like 1 or 2 things where you go, well, that was cool.
Yeah.
And I did like the actual safe cracking with the big blowtorch thing that they had to do. But also like when you talk about like, well, what would you cut out of this movie to make it less than 100 or less than 121 minutes or whatever it is? Lots of conversations could have been a 10th as long as they were and gotten us all the same information that we needed. The entire opening sequence of the initial safe cracking, the getaway, all the cars, that whole thing took like 10 plus minutes. It didn't need to take 10 minutes. That could have been cut much, much tighter than it was. This easily could have been, in my opinion, like a 90-minute movie and lost basically nothing of substance. There's a lot of fluff and filler, in my opinion, in this. So look, the movie's not for me. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who think Thief is a fantastic, work of noir and like very much a stylized kind of an important piece. It wouldn't shock me, but for me, it definitely does not work. And that makes us a 4.5 out of 10 on Thief, one of our lowest scores.
Is that your only one? I'm trying to think. I think this is your lowest.
I think
score.
It is. Yeah, because I think I was a 1 on Pacific Heights. Pacific Heights was a 1, and Rocky IV was a 1.5. Those are my particularly low scores.
I do have to disclaim this just so we understand the underlying bias here. Steve has a vault full of loose diamonds in his house, and this movie terrifies him.
You got to tell people that, man. We're recording. What's the matter with you, Nick?
All right. Well, hey, this was, not the most fun. This was a great conversation, though. Yeah. And I think there's definitely interesting stuff to get into in this movie. We're probably going in a different direction here as we move through the decades. This was my pick for 1981. Steve, Two Dads, Two Decades. We're going to 1982 now. What do you got for us?
We are going to 1982, and I am very much mixing up the style. We're going to go a whole different vibe, a whole different direction. Still with elements that, like a lot of the early 80s, maybe don't hold up under modern scrutiny in a lot of ways. But again, very, very different vibe. We're going to go to a movie that kickstarted the careers of so many young actors in the 1980s. This was the first, if not the first role period, like the first kind of major film for people like, and I mean, I'm going to name names you're going to think about when you think of this movie and name names you're not going to think about, but Anthony Edwards, Eric Stoltz, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Judge Reinhold, Phoebe Cates, Sean Penn, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's what we're going to watch.
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage?
Yeah.
Where's Nicolas Cage in this movie?
Oh, he's one of the guys that works at All American Burger.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I did not realize that. See, I noticed Anthony Edwards and Eric Stoltz as the stoner buddies. I did not realize
I think he's as Nick Coppola in the credits.
Love it. Oh my God, that's amazing. Wonderful. Yeah, we're going to go watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High next week.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm definitely more familiar with this than I was with Thief. Yeah. And I think this will be fun. This will be a good way to mix it up. So I look forward to chatting about this with you next week.
Awesome. That's a wrap. So if you like what you hear, and we hope you do, please consider heading over to Apple or Spotify and leaving us a 5-star review. It really helps new folks find the show. Be sure to check out our website at twodads1movie.com. That's the number 2 and the number 1. There you can explore the movies we've covered, sign up for our newsletter, The Rewind, and even get sneak previews of upcoming episodes. We'd also love it if you followed us on Instagram at 2dads1movie. Once again, this has been Thief, another episode of 2 Dads, 1 Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everyone.